Guys, it is 9:45. I was supposed to start this podcast session at 9:30. However, this week is chaos. It's chaos. It's ultimate chaos. So the scheduling is all over the place, and for the most part, I try to schedule things very ambitiously, but we don't always hit the target when it comes to the exact time when things need to get started. So I actually am gonna have less time to record today's episode just because I already cut in 15 times into the episode. I got here around like 9:20 to Pasadena, and then I had to go get coffee because I was like, "There's no way I'm gonna start today's podcast without at least some caffeine because it is a little too early. Usually I'm not here in the studio this early. I think I did this like once, and I still had to go and get coffee because it'll be crazy to start to the whole episode without actually getting at least some form of caffeine. So today we're gonna actually discuss the second topic that Super Anita suggested that we talk about. I know that in the previous episode I told you guys that I was gonna actually record two episodes within the same time slot. So I had actually booked the podcast room for 1 hour, and I ambitiously planned that I was going to be able to talk about each individual topic around for 30 minutes, and then I was going to be able to record two episodes in one go. However, that episode, as soon as I started recording it, I realized that there was a lot to talk about. There was a whole journey to just go over, and I kind of went into pretty much memory lane, and I started to kind of break down all the areas where I've done content creation, and I got into detail as to how I went about it, and I try to really give you guys ultimately like tips as far as like what you can take from each experience. And because of that, that took up a lot of time. It actually took up the whole entire hour plus a few extra minutes, and it was crazy. I mean, it was a good episode. I think it was very valuable. If you guys want to go and check it out, it is quite of a long one though, so it might take you at least more than one go in order for you to finish the whole thing. But if you guys want to go and check it out, there it is. It's in the previous episode. I'm still looking for somebody who can help me out with my podcast here, who can help me cut out the podcast into multiple clips. That way, I'm able to post it on my Instagram, the podcast Instagram. As some of you may have already followed. If you guys haven't, go ahead and follow me on Instagram. Follow the podcast on Instagram, tff.podcast. That's the username, and you'll find like you should be finding all the clips as far as like as far as like the podcast goes. I'm gonna try to cut up every single episode into multiple clips. That way you guys can still get some value if you guys are unable to go and check out the entire episodes, because I understand they're a little bit long, so they're not really for everyone unless you're like a big fan of podcasts and you have the capacity to be able to hang on and listen to an entire episode. So for those of you who aren't capable of doing that, I want to make little small clips that are just like 1 minute long. They're much easier to consume, and you still get at least the gist of what the episode was. And maybe if I drop like a really valuable gem, I'm gonna try to extract that. That way you guys can still, in theory, still take the value from the entire podcast. But obviously, if you guys want to see the entire episode so that you guys understand the full context, you can always come here to YouTube and check out the full episode. In the previous episode, I spoke about two topics that I was going to discuss that I had originally planned, but I didn't get to cover both. I only covered the first one, which I spoke about my creative journey. But in this second one, I want to talk about how to get collabs. So, yes, I do have a decent amount of followers. I believe I have like around 6K and stuff. But I do believe that your number of followers will kind of ultimately kind of determine as far as like how you get your collabs, because for the most part, like once you start crossing like the 10K and forward, I've seen that it's usually restaurants that kind of hit you up, and you no longer have to go out there and kind of chase collabs because you already have a good amount of followers and you already have a good amount of following. So most restaurants see that and they already feel enticed to work with you. Whether your followers are real or not, I'm not saying anything about that, or whether you have a high engagement, stuff like that. Some restaurants don't even look into that. They just kind of see that you have a good following, that you have a huge follower base, and they're like, "Hey, we want to work with you," and they hit you up, they send you an offer, and probably some of those collabs maybe even be paid. They might offer to pay you from the beginning without you even asking them if they have a specific budget. And when it comes to this collab game, it's really like I'll share with you like the things that I've used and the tips that I've applied in order to get collabs with the places that I've wanted to. But at the end of the day, even by using all the tips that I'm about to share with you, I can't really guarantee that you're gonna get every single collab because that's just impossible. I think most people who are even past the 10K and on and 100K and stuff like that, even they could probably tell you that they probably had some collabs in mind. They probably have a few places where they would love to collab and go in there and film a video for them. But at the end of the day, some restaurants aren't just not with it. So you just gotta understand that from the get go. No matter the amount of followers that you have, some restaurants just don't want to collab. They're just not interested in having you come through and do your whole video and things like that. They're just like hardcore not believers in the social media game. So if that's the case, then there's really nothing you can do about it because that's their belief. That's really truly what they believe in their hearts. And if they really don't believe in the power of social media, then there's really nothing you can really do to change their minds. I mean, you can try to sell them on it. You can try to convince them and lay out specific details as far as like why it'll benefit them in the long run to have a social media account and why they should pursue social media marketing and influencer marketing and do the collabs and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there's just restaurants who just would prefer to pursue other avenues as far as like marketing goes. And perhaps, to some extent, for some restaurants, even that's even more effective. Like there are restaurants where they will benefit more if they just applied different tactics as far as like their marketing approach, as opposed to just sticking to social media and making social media a priority. So at the end of the day, like I said, no matter what you do, there are places where you just won't be getting a collab, and that's okay because sometimes you don't really need to get a collab, and you don't always need to get approved by the restaurant to do a collab. Like if you still want to go there and film a video and stuff like that, you can still make it happen. And yes, maybe you won't get access to the kitchen or stuff like that to like film like behind the scenes of how they make stuff, but you can still make a video on the outside, or you can just go and buy the actual product and make a review out of it and stuff like that, and you can get a collab that way. Of course, that would be like out of pocket kind of a kind of collab. At the end of the day, I want you to understand that every single collab should be with the sole purpose of you feeding your Instagram account with content. So at the end of the day, you want to prioritize, giving your audience some content as opposed to not giving them content at all just because you're unable to get collabs and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's podcast, and let me go ahead and share all the tips and the knowledge that I've accrued over the years as far as like how you can go about getting collabs as a foodie. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So, how do you get collabs? So let me go ahead and break down the different categories as far as like collabs goes, because there's different types of collabs. Obviously, let me first lay out the different types of collabs that you're able to get out there, and then I'll kind of break down as far as like how you can get those collabs. So, first of all, there's the investment collabs. So those are the collabs that a lot of people think that those are the collabs that you pretty much do when you're just getting started, and then once you kind of get the ball rolling, like you never do those again. Investment collabs are pretty much the collabs where you pay out of pocket for the product, and you still make a piece of content out of that. So whether you go to the restaurant as a normal customer, you buy whatever it is that you want to review, and then you take pictures of it and you do a picture post, or you make an entire reel where you make an entire video out of the whole experience of you trying the product and reviewing it. So there's the investment type of collab. Now in this case, you are mostly investing, and so that's why you're investing your own money into creating content. So that's why it's more of an investment collab. Then there's the then there's the comped collab. So there's like the collab where you get comped for the food, so you get free food in exchange for content. This is the most common collab, and this is the collab that's the easiest really to get, and that's the collab that most restaurants will reach out to you to do, simply because it's probably it's the most normalized type of collab, just because I give you something for free and then you give me a piece of content in exchange. So that one's pretty fair, pretty simple, and that's probably the collab you'll be dealing with the most as far as like being a foodie goes, because to the restaurant, it's not really a huge expense to be able to go and give you like a few items from their menu, and you just pretty much film that and you review it and you upload a piece of content out of that. So that's the other type of collab that I would call the comped collab, as opposed to an investment collab where you normally pay for the food. In this case, you get it for free. And then there's paid collabs where you still get the comped collab, pretty much goodies. So you still get the food for free, but you also get paid in order to create content. So this one ranges depending on obviously what you're offering. So maybe you're charging based on the amount of reels that you're going to be posting. Maybe you have like a combo package where you offer like 3 4 stories on your Instagram, and you offer to post on Instagram and TikTok for a certain price. Or maybe they can't afford that, so then you make like a smaller package where you only post on Instagram and you only post like the reel. You don't post any stories or stuff like that, and so on and so forth, right? Depending on how many social media accounts you have, you can create a package around that and be like, okay, if I post here and here and here, it's going to be this much. If I post only here, it's going to be this much and stuff like that. And then you kind of go into the details as far as like, okay, like I'm gonna charge this much. I'm gonna make this for you. The video's gonna be this long. I'm gonna be featuring these items, and I'm gonna be uploading on this date and time and stuff like that. And so when it comes to the paid collabs, there is a little bit more of a know-how already as far as like what you do. So you really have to understand like the kind of content that you're already making. So I would say like these paid collabs come later on once you kind of understand the product that you have at hand. So you understand like the value of your reels, your videos, your pictures. You understand that they have value, and so you pretty much set a price on those pieces of content in order for you to get paid and turn it into a paid collab. So, and then there's like the other kind of I wouldn't say rare, but not everybody gets the chance to do them, just because sometimes for the most part, you do have to be a big person in order to make those kind of collabs happen. But there is the collabs where you can collab with a restaurant and you can have your own specific menu item, and so pretty much your item gets featured on their menu. And the rules to this collab can vary depending on what the agreement is between you and the restaurant. But the thing is, at the end of the day, you get your item on their menu. And so every time somebody orders that specific item from their menu, or in this case they order your item, then something happens. So maybe you get like a percentage of that sale, or it gets donated somewhere, or something happens, right? You can also do like a promotional code. So in this case, like they give you a promotional code, and whoever like orders, uh, maybe you promote a specific item for them, and then like whoever orders that specific item from your audience, they get like a specific percentage off. So in this case, maybe I'm the customer, I'm watching your video, you're the influencer, I see that you're reviewing a specific chicken sandwich or something, and then you're offering like a 25 or 50% discount on that chicken sandwich. And the only way to redeem that is for me to use a specific code that restaurant gave you, so that I can apply when I'm doing my checkout. And then that way they can track like how many people are actually buying the chicken sandwich from your audience. And then once they're able to track that, then they're able to see exactly how much money you're actually making them. And then you can either take a percentage, or maybe you charge a specific fixed amount, whatever it is. There's those type of collabs where they're kind of like just proprietary collabs, really. Like at that point, you really understand like what you're doing. You understand how collabs really work at the end of the day, and so you're able to kind of set your own rules and structure they collab in a certain way that benefits you and benefits the restaurant at the end of the day. But yeah, so that's pretty much those are pretty much the main types of collabs that you can get. So let me go ahead and get into how you can go about getting those collabs. So at first, like I said, you got the investment collabs. So the investment collabs are pretty much the collabs where you pay out of pocket for the food and you review it and you post it. So like I said, a lot of people think that these type of collabs you only do them when you're just starting off, when you're pretty much not really known at all and stuff like that. And I defer to say that that's not really true. Like, even though, yes, if you don't have any followers, most likely you will have to start off that way because you just don't have an audience. You don't have anything. You don't have any content. And most places, even if you reach out to them, they probably won't really want to collab with you just because your follower count is not as high. And so you will have to make that investment of just going out there and just buying your own food at first and review. And I think the funnest part about this is that you're not really restricted as far as like what kind of collabs you do, because at the end of the day, you're paying out of pocket. So because of that, you actually get to choose like what places you want to go and review. You get to choose the specific items that you want to review as well. There's nothing really holding you back because at the end of the day, you're paying for that. You're paying for the food items, so you can do pretty much whatever you want with that. And so those are cool. Those are great. But a lot of people don't like doing that because obviously you got to pay for the food and stuff. And if you're going through hard times, or you just are not a big fan of spending that much money, or you're scared of investing your money into all this food, and then like you just don't see any results, then I can understand why you wouldn't want to do this type of collab. But trust me, if at the beginning this is all you can do, try your best to just do as much as you can. So try to get us, you don't have to start off with really expensive food. So just try to, go and get food that's not too expensive, that's still kind of in an affordable range for you. And start off like that, and try to see anywhere where you can actually get free food. Maybe you can go to an event, or maybe a friend takes you out, or stuff like that. Like there's gatherings and stuff like that, parties, places where you can get free food, and you can always like do reviews that way, and you can get yourself started that way, and then you can always transition later when you have more followers. So here's the thing about the investment collab. So a lot of people think that you should only do these when you're just starting off because you don't have the followers and stuff like that. And but once you get followers, and once you have the capacity to really get free food, that you should basically stop doing the paid collabs. And the thing is that the reason why I disagree with that is because here's the thing, like uh, yes, later on, once your account grows, you will have the capacity to reach out and get collabs where you can get the second type of collab, which is this comp collab, where you get at least you get the food for free. So yes, that is a possibility that could happen, right? But that doesn't mean that you should stop doing the investment ones, because here's the thing, like later on, like there's different types of food out there that you might be interested in reviewing. However, like based on like the content that you're uploading at first, there may be only certain restaurants that might be enticed to let you in, just because maybe you have a particular style, maybe there's a particular type of food that you're really sticking to, and so a restaurant might be a little bit skeptical about inviting you just because like they look through your page and they just see like maybe you review a lot of like drinks. Maybe you just like reviewing, let's just say, coffee. Let's just say, for instance, like it's just coffee. So basically, your thing is to go to coffee shops, and that's basically like when I look at your profile, like it's mostly just coffee shops. It's mostly like you're either featuring a coffee, you're featuring a pastry, or it has like some sort of coffee vibe where it's basically like coffee and stuff. So then maybe like I'm a restaurant owner, and I own a Korean barbecue. Let's just say, right? So I own a Korean barbecue restaurant, and I'm inviting influencers to come in. And then I look at your page, and I see that it's all coffee, 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 and I'm a little skeptical now because I'm like, maybe your audience just likes coffee, and so maybe it might not be a good idea to invite you because first of all, I don't even know if you're gonna post because now, like, if I invite you, now you have to post a Korean barbecue post, which could kind of like interrupt the flow of just having a coffee on your page, and so aesthetically, it might not look as pleasing. And then maybe your audience isn't even interested in that because maybe you've got your audience really interested in just coffee. So maybe they're just looking for the next coffee shop that they can go to. It. They're not necessarily looking for Korean barbecues. So then I may not feel enticed to invite you. And even if you send out a request to me, I might not even be enticed to approve it just because I just don't see that in your profile. I just don't see how this collaboration can benefit me. So you have to understand that it's not only about you, but it's also about the restaurants themselves. They have to benefit from this collaboration as well. And so the best way they can do that is to see that on your page you're doing a variety of things, or you're doing the one thing that that's gonna help them. So the thing is with paid collabs is that you can always basically switch up that image. So let's just say that maybe you started off with coffee, right? And you love coffee shops, that's your thing, right? And so you started off by going, maybe you already did this before you even started your profile, so you're like, let me just keep doing what I've been doing, going to coffee shops, but now I'm going to start documenting everything, right? So you start doing that, right? But then you start to see that, oh, it's only coffee shops, and maybe you do want to do other restaurants. Maybe you do want to actually get hit up by a Korean barbecue. You want to get hit up by a hamburger joint or something like that, right? You just don't have any content of that. So what you can do is you can purposefully go and make some investments in those places. So if you want to attract Korean barbecue restaurants, then what you would do is you would go and start hitting up a few Korean barbecues. And yes, I can understand that those may be a little more pricey, but obviously, if you take more people with you, you could always split the bill and stuff like that. Plus, Korean barbecue usually you go with more people, so you can always split the bill and stuff like that, and that way you can minimize the cost. And at the same time, you can still get really good content, especially if you take a lot of people. You can order like a huge variety of meats, and then like you can have a really good piece of content just because there's a lot going on in the video and stuff like that. And so usually you don't even need to go that many times. Like one, two, three pieces of content that you have on your page, that may be more than enough for the places that you're trying to attract to see that and be like, okay, there's some Korean barbecue content on their page. I can see kind of how it's gonna look, and they can already start picturing how their piece of content is gonna look based on what you've already done. And so they don't know that you've paid for it either. So you don't when you're doing your investment collabs, you don't have to necessarily let people know that you paid for that. Obviously there are some places where it might be a little bit obvious. Obviously if you go to like a really famous place, or like some of these like really famous fast food chains, obviously most people are going to know that you didn't collab there, and and that you went and you bought that. But if it's just like a normal like mom and pop type of place, nobody really would kind of know if that was a collab or not. And so you can always say that that was a collab. Like it doesn't matter. Like unless of course you're doing a paid collab, then maybe you want to be a little more honest there, just because you're dealing with money and stuff like that. But other than that, usually you don't really get asked if that was a paid collab, or it was a comp collab or anything like that, unless it's like from fellow foodies, because sometimes a fellow foodie will see one of my pages and be like, hey, like, how'd you get a collab there? Did you even collab there? Like, how did it go? Like, what did you tell them and stuff like that? So sometimes, yes, here and there, I will get asked that. And other foodies will ask between each other, like, how did you get in there? Can you refer me? Can you, hook me up? You know, get me in there, stuff like that. And I like sometimes there's like exchange of like collabs too. Like maybe I got to collab somewhere, then you got to collab somewhere, and then I'll be like, hey, I can get you in here if you get me in there and stuff like that. And that's kind of how sometimes it goes on in the foodie community. There's just like that exchange of collabs. So you can get collabs that way as well. And that's pretty much another type of collab actually that I forgot to mention. But there's the collabs where you can pretty much just go as a plus one. You can go as a guest, or you can ask another fellow foodie to kind of hook you up, and then they could get you a collab. They can get you in somewhere, even if it's paid. Sometimes, even if it's paid, you can still get yourself in the door. Because maybe somebody who got paid can refer you, and and then you can get a collab like that, and also they can say that they can say on your behalf that you also charge for collabs. So, kind of prime them up. That way, when you hit them up, they know they're expecting already for you to give them a price. So if that's the case, if they're gonna do that for you, just be straight up and be ready to just kind of name your price, let them know how much you want to charge from the beginning. uh but we'll talk a little bit more about like getting paid collabs and stuff in a little bit. But that's pretty much that one as far as like the investment collabs. Then we move on to the more like the comp collabs. So that's pretty much the freebie collab, the collabs where you get free food in exchange for content. So these are, like I said, these are the easiest collabs to get. These are the ones that you'll probably get a lot of invites. Usually, when you have at least more than 500 followers, you'll start getting invites here and there from restaurants, and you could always do those. Obviously, if you get the invite, all you really have to do is just pretty much schedule with them, let them know a good day and time for you to go, and you'll pretty much be set. Usually at that point, they give you always ask for a point of contact, just so that you minimize the resistance. I've spoken about the resistance task force, and I still have to make an episode solely on the resistance task force, just because I have so many stories about the resistance task force and a lot of places that I want to expose and talk about, because I am not a huge fan of the Resistance Task Force. I don't like it, and I have made it my mission to take him down. But yeah, so always ask for a point of contact and kind of let them know, like, okay, like who should I ask for when I get there. That way, like when you get there, you know, for the most part, sometimes you do kind of have to give a little speech as far as like why you're there and stuff. But you can always give the speech. Plus, if you have an actual name, then that kind of like that kind of eases things up a little bit, just because there's someone that you can give that speech to, as opposed to just giving the speech to a random employee who may not know nothing about the collab, or may not have no idea who you are, and then they give you like resistance because they don't really know you. You're just coming in here and just trying to get free food and stuff like that. So always ask for a name, always ask for the details as far as like the collab goes. If you can go as far as like also asking as far as like what you're gonna get, because yes, it is free food, but at the same time, sometimes some restaurants are not very specific as far as like what exactly how many items you can get or what items you can get. So always try to ask like, okay, like how many items specifically can I get, and how many, like so if there's specific items I need to get, tell me which ones. And if there's a specific number of them, then let me know as well. And yeah, so always ask for those details, just so that, when you get there, there isn't like any surprises, or there isn't any resistance task force. But basically, yeah, these collabs, usually they come to you. And if you do want to reach out, you can always reach out as well. And it's pretty simple. You go out, you go on Instagram or you go on TikTok and stuff, and you basically send a short message where you pretty much just let them know, like, hey, this is my name, this is my page, this is what I do. I would love to come in and I would love to collaborate with you. I would love to see. So you can say like, I would love to collaborate with you, or I would like to see if there's an opportunity for us to collaborate. Something around those lines, depending on how you talk. You can always phrase it in the way that you fit best, but try to say something around those lines where, I'm interested in collaborating with you. Uh, this is normally how the collabs go. You pretty much, you comp the food that I'm gonna be reviewing, and in exchange, this is what I'm gonna do for you. So you basically let them know. I usually like to let them know unless you go to the page and you see that they've already collaborated with other foodies that you know. Uh, so if you see that, usually you can cut your message short and just let them know, like, hey, look, this is me. I would like to collaborate with you. Let me know if that's something that we can make happen soon. You don't have to go into the details as far as like how the collab goes, but if you go to their page and you see that they've never really collaborated with anyone, then you do want to kind of explain to it how it goes. So be like, hey, I'm interested in collaborating with you. The way it normally goes is that I come through, I pick out a few items, or if you want to say a specific number, you can do that as well. So be like, hey, I pick out 2 to 3 items from the menu of my choice, and basically, I review it. I can film a video for you, depending on how you're gonna make your content, either if it's outside or behind the scenes. And then you let them know that you're gonna be posting that on your page as well. You're gonna be tagging them and all that stuff. And in exchange, just let them know, like, okay, there's no actual cost for this besides the food that I'm gonna be taking in order to create the content. And so you basically lay it out for them, let them know like how it's gonna work out. If it's gonna be a paid collab, then obviously you can also write something along these lines where you tell them that you're interested in collaborating with them. But make sure you do tell them that, hey, I will need the food for free, and also this is how much I charge to to make the collaboration happen. So never hide that from them. Always be honest, be straightforward from the beginning as far as like what you want out of the collaboration. Don't try to like make them think that it's gonna be a comp collaboration. At the end you drop them a price, because then that can kind of catch the restaurants off guard. They may be a little bit upset, and they might not want to collaborate with you at that point, just because you weren't straightforward. You kind of just try to like dabble your way around, and then like at the end you just like, they were under the impression they were getting a free collab, and yeah, that wasn't really the case. But always be straightforward, whichever type of collab you're going after, commit to it. And when you're sending out your message, send it out with that clarity in mind that this is what I want, right? If you're going for the comp food, make sure that that's what you're going for. Don't try to drop a price later on. And if you're going for the paid collab, always stick to your price. Never tell them like, hey, if they tell you like, hey, we don't really have the budget and stuff like that, blah 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 blah. Always tell them, okay, then if you don't have the budget, then that's okay. I understand. Hopefully in the future you're able to afford it or something like that, and just leave them alone. Okay, don't make the switch as far as like, okay, like if you don't have the budget, that's okay. I'll come in for free. Then I'll do this and that, because then that kind of diminishes your value. So if you do want to do that, and if you are interested in just doing the collab for free at the end of the day, then just give it a little bit of time. So if like if your paid collab didn't go through, they said they didn't have the budget, they didn't have money or whatever, then just tell them, okay, you know what, I understand. Not every restaurant can afford does not every restaurant has the budget to afford a paid collab, and I understand that. But hopefully in the future we're able to work together and just end the conversation there, because sometimes they're just they're caught off guard. You send them a message and they're kind of like okay, like whatever, like they're kind of just like, oh, like this person wants money and stuff, and so they don't really know either, like if a paid collab is going to be beneficial for them. So sometimes they just need a little bit of time to really think about it. So you give them that time by just ending the conversation there and just letting them think about it. Because here's the thing, like sometimes they will change their mind and they might message you back and be like, hey, you know what, I thought about it, and actually I might be able to afford your paid collab. Can you go over the details again, and like blah 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 blah. Maybe they need to talk to someone, and you just didn't know about it, but maybe they have partners and they need to talk to them. They need to maybe they need to look through your profile a little bit and see like the kind of content that you make, and be like, hey, you know what, maybe it is worth what they're charging and stuff like that. And so you want to give them that time to kind of explore, and maybe they do come to that decision that they do want to do a paid collab. But if you immediately just go and transition into a free collab, then you don't give them that time to really look into it. And so now, like, they just didn't have the chance to do that. So you just lost out on some money just because you just wanted to do the collab. Either way, you know, you still wanted to get some content. So here's the thing, like, so there's the thing about paid collabs. Like, you always want to commit to it. Either you want to do it paid or you want to do it for free. But yeah, that's pretty much how you go about like sending your messages out there. And basically the other ones as well. When it comes to the paid and the com collabs, that's usually how it goes. Either you send out a message or they send one for you. Now, obviously, for the paid collabs, you can go an extra mile where like sometimes they won't respond on one specific social media platform. So you might want to try like you know, if you try it on Instagram, you might want to try on their TikTok, or you might want to try on their X, or you might want to try or the best way I would say to try is through an email, you know, through an email. So if they do have an email somewhere like on their Instagram page or something, on their contact, or they have it on their website or something, just pull that up and send them a breakdown. And it is an email, so in the email you could write a little bit more than just in the DM. So if you do offer a paid collab, then in the email you can break down your entire paid collab in far more detail. You can kind of introduce yourself, let them know what you do, and then kind of lay out like the details as far as like what the paid collab entails. And you can always like put into like bullet points and everything, make it very organized and everything. And kind of let them know like what the price is and what they're gonna be getting and stuff like that. And it allows for you to write a lot more, so you can be a lot more detailed, a lot more like you can include a lot more writing and stuff like that. So email is a really good choice. It's a really good avenue to pursue. Also, if there is a phone number there, you can go ahead and I know a lot of people don't do that these days, but if you really want to, you can always if there's a number there for you to call, you can always call them up and see if you can get in contact with the owner. And if you can, then just talk to the owner and let them know like, hey, look, I'm interested in this blah 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 blah. You know, you lay out your full the whole thing that you wrote about in the DMs. You can pretty much do it through the phone. I would suggest using the same speech that you are on the email, because you know, through the phone, obviously if you're talking to them, you can go ahead and you know, lay it out all for them on the phone as well. But yeah, if you're gonna be sending a DM though, keep it kind of short and simple. Get straight to the point, and because those platforms, like I said, a lot of people, their mentality is more like boom 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 boom, you know. People want to go from them one thing to the next thing to the next thing, so it's all about speed and stuff. When it comes to the email though, a lot more people take a little bit more time to read the entire email and see what's in there. You know, they'll take more time to see the email, because you know, people take emails a little bit more seriously, because they are a little bit more like work related and stuff. There's a lot more serious conversations going on in email than there are on social media. So just keep that in mind when you're writing your speech. Know your audience, and yeah. But that's pretty much it as far as like getting those kind of collabs. Obviously there's the other collabs, like I said, where you partner up with the restaurants and stuff. So that's really up to you, like what kind of a deal you want to make. I would suggest really you study that, whichever you study prior deals, if you're able to kind of see like what other people have been doing. So for that one, I would say you would want to ask like fellow foodies if there's a particular collab that you saw where, you know, they got their item on the menu. You know, you want to see how they went about that. But for the most part, it all comes down to relationships when it comes to that. So you really want to, you know, become friends with your fellow foodies. You want to become friends with whatever restaurant you're planning on making a collaboration of that caliber with, because your relationship with that place really has to be strong. Unless of course you are a big celebrity and stuff, then most likely that kind of collaboration can be a little bit easier to do, just because you know, there's a lot of status there. There's the celebrity status, so pretty much like the restaurant will be like, of course, you're a go because you're obviously, the restaurant's gonna benefit a lot if you're a celebrity and you partner up with them, and then you get your menu item on there. So, yeah, but if you're like a much smaller person, then you do really need to work on building a relationship with that owner and really becoming friendly with them to the degree that such a collaboration can be considered by the owner, and you can make it happen that way. But that's pretty much how you go about that. And then like I said, if you want to get like collabs, you want to get referred, those are always on the line as well, so you can always go as a plus one. That way you can get yourself in the door and get access to collabs that perhaps you wouldn't have gotten access to all on your own. And then always try to and then you go there, you film, and you make it seem as if it's your collab as well. So you take ownership of it and you do what you got to do. You work hard, or you have other foodies refer you, and then you can refer them back in return, or whatever it is that you can do for them. There's always that exchange of values, so you can do that as well. Other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it as far as like getting collabs goes. There's all those avenues. There's so many ways to get collabs, and the way you want to really go about it is that you really want to be trying to get all of these, at once. Really, in order for you to continuously get content on your page. So obviously, like I said, some are more easier than others. So the paid collabs may not come as often, but you still want to be reaching out and trying to get those to happen. In the meantime, you might want to be doing more of the free the Compta collabs where you get free food in exchange for content. Like I said, those are the more easier ones to get. So those are pretty much the ones that you use to kind of get your profile going. You get some content on there. If you're not really having luck with those as well, like I said, those are the easiest ones. So if you're not having any luck getting those, then you might want to work on whatever speech that you're using. So like I said, keep it simple. Just let them know you want to collab, and let them know that all you want is free food. And yeah, for the most part, they should make it happen for you. Obviously, always look at their pages and look at other foodies too. You can get collabs that way as well. Just look at what places they're collaborating at, and then if you see somebody collab at a place that looks good, then go ahead and hit that place up as well. Because most likely, if one foodie already went there to collab, and you know for a fact that they collaborated there, then it's gonna be much easier for you to get yourself in there and collab as well. And so those are basically like the easiest ways to really get collabs. It's just that way. You see somebody get one, you go in there and you get it yourself as well. If all for some reason you're not getting any collabs left and right, like I said, there are always the investment collabs where you can purposefully just go and pay for the food and make a review and stuff like that in the meantime. But I can assure you that eventually some of the comp collabs are going to start to kick in. And once you work on your speech and you work on your page as well to get it at a higher follower count, more engagement and stuff, I can assure you that your paid collabs are going to start to pay off as well, and you'll start to get approved for more of those as well. If you have the time, after doing all those collabs, try to collab with other people as well. Try to jump into their collabs, be a guest, be a plus one. Try to do collab exchanges as well. Like once you've developed a good relationship with a lot of the collabs that you've done so far, try to offer other foodies. Be like, hey, I could get you in here because I know the owner here. Can you get me in there and stuff like that? And so there's always that exchange that you can do, and yeah. And you could always collab with other foodies as well. So it doesn't necessarily have to be you coming in as a guest, but you can also actually collab, where you're both in the content, you're both kind of sharing the platform and stuff, and then you guys can collaborate once the content is done. Like on Instagram, there's the feature where you can both collaborate, so the video will appear on both of you guys' profiles. So that makes it even easier for you to start tapping into other people's audiences, and then their audience can follow yours and yours can follow theirs and stuff like that, and that way you can increase the number of followers that you have. And of course, like there may be restaurants that are following that foodie, and so they see you in there, they see your content, they start looking at your page, and they're very likely to start inviting you as well, because they know that hey, you know what, I really like this foodie, had a good experience with them, and it looks like they're having a good experience with that foodie as well. So they must be similar to work with. So they might feel more enticed to go and hit you up because you're friends already with the foodie that they collaborated in the past. So that's pretty much how you go about it. As far as like getting collabs goes, like I said, always try to keep it simple. Like I said, at the end of the day, you want to, all these collabs are with the purpose of them getting something of benefit and you obviously getting something of benefit as well. It's an exchange of value. So just make sure that at the end of the day, the value exchange is always matching. And if it's not working out for some reason, you got to verify that the value exchange is always there. And if it's not working out, it's because somewhere in there the value exchange is not making sense. So you have to really assess that, be self-aware, because I've seen it many times where the value exchange is not there, and some people are thinking that they can just go and start claiming paid collabs when they just don't have the necessary engagement. They don't have the necessary follower count. Like I said in prior videos, like, yes, you're creating content and stuff like that, but at the end of the day, you creating content and posting it, it's not going to be enough for you to just go out there and start charging for your content. Like, your content actually has to be good. It has to get a good amount of engagement. You need to have a good amount of followers are going to be watching that your content, and it has to really your content has to appeal and be in congruence with the brand. So you have to have the capability of not only creating good content, but creating content that represents the place, the restaurant in a good light. So yeah, like it's a lot of things that go into the paid collapse. So if you're thinking that you can just go and charge just because you have some knowledge in creating content and posting it, that's just not how it's going to work. Like I said, anybody can do that these days, and everybody has access to the equipment. Everybody has access to an iPhone or a good phone, like one of the latest ones. So pretty much those phones already capture really good video, really good pictures. The type of content they're capturing is already good enough for you really don't have to do much as far as like going into the settings and doing any of that stuff. So there's that, and so you have to keep that in mind that you're gonna have to go a little bit beyond that in order to start wanting to get paid. So just keep that in mind. And like I said, always keep in mind the value exchange. If it's making sense, if anything, you want to put yourself in the restaurant shoes and be like, hey, would I take this collab? Like, if I was the restaurant owner and then this foodie came to me and was like, hey, uh, I want to charge you what, $200 for the video. I want to charge you 300, 400. Does it make sense? Like, what am I getting in exchange for $400 that I could easily go and spend somewhere else? I could give it to another influencer. That's another thing too. Like, don't think that you're the only one charging as well. So whatever your price point is, just know that you have to know who else is charging that amount, and you have to see like what they're offering. Because if you're charging 200, this person's charging 200, but I feel like this person here is giving me more for 200 than you are, then obviously I'm gonna go for this person because their value proposition is much higher than yours is. It feels like almost like they're over delivering and you're like barely making it, where you're giving me the amount of content for 200, and as opposed to like they're giving me this much value for 200. So it's like a no-brainer that I'm gonna go with this person. So you have to keep that in mind as well. You can't just go out there and just charge ridiculous amounts of money just because you feel like you're entitled to it, because that's just not how things work. So this is business when it comes to the paid collabs, and you have to keep most of those things in mind. But other than that, all the the other types of collabs, it usually just comes down to relationships. It usually just comes down to you being a professional and really knowing exactly what you're gonna be doing out there, uh, and just yeah, just pretty much enjoying yourself. Go and review, try the food, do your thing, and create content. Grow the foodie community and enjoy yourself. But yeah, pretty much. It's already 10:37. I kind of went over my hour already, so I might be getting kicked out of the studio anytime soon. But yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Super Anita, for submitting your topic. If anybody wants to submit their own topic, like I said, just let me know. Send me a DM on Instagram, TikTok, send a DM to the actual podcast Instagram. Send me an email. The email's down below here in the description. Other than that, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Like I said, I always appreciate each and every one of you who watches these episodes and learns from them and everything. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing you in the next episode.